Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Chess4Life Spotlight. I'm Elliott Neff, your host, National Master, and founder of Chess4Life. And with me today, we have a guest from originally in the slums of Katwe, Uganda, Mr. Robert Katende, who has an impressive history of working with the youth through the game of chess and other areas. You might know him best from the Disney movie, The Queen of Katwe, where Robert's story, along with Fiona Matesi, was told about chess transforming lives. So, Robert, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Master Neff, for having me. It's quite an honor to reconnect again after all this pandemic. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, and thank you for taking the time, even as we talk in the middle of the World Olympiad, where you have students from really, if you could tell us where they're from, coming out of the project and now competing in the Olympiad. If you don't mind, why don't we just jump right in with that since you're in the Olympiad at this moment?
Yeah, it's quite an honor. Thank you very much, Elliott. Actually, we are this year having three learners who have roots from some chess academy, a program that was started almost 17 years back in the slums of Katwe. Of course, most people know that the impact that has been done is really great, and so many children have been impacted. I know most people are familiar with Fiona Matesi because of the Disney movie, and Fiona was able to participate in the first Olympiad in 2010 in Russia, in Kantmensinski. But I can tell you, 10 years later, we are now having more other lives impacted. Over 25,000 children have been impacted.
Wow.
And this Olympiad, we have three girls on the women's team, and the youngest is still 15 years.
Wow. So a 15-year-old young children coming out of the slums of Uganda, right, with the work. And you said the work that began and was so small, and eventually the story was told, has impacted more than 25,000 children there. Is that correct?
Yeah, we've been running for over 17 years, and we have been able to impact over 25,000 lives, and many of them have actually been able to get into different fields. And our key components, of course, we use chess as a platform, but we
Yes.
try to see how we set these lives on a meaningful life trajectory, which is very
Yes.
transformational, and having something to dream for and work for to achieve in life.
Yes, absolutely. That's absolutely amazing. Now, for those who will be listening and watching this who've never heard of the story, could you give like just a 1 or 2 minute, if possible, the background of where you came from, your story leading into that? And I know it's also told in a book, which I happen to have here myself, Robert Katende, A Night Without a Castle. Just a beautiful story. But could you tell in just a minute or two how you ended up teaching chess as a vehicle, if you can possibly summarize that for an audience who might this be their first time hearing about this story?
Thank you very much, Elliot. It's good you have the copy of this book, actually. Because of that particular question is the reason why I came up with this book, to see that I can share all this to the people. But all what happened is that after I grew up from the slums personally, and after my college, I got a chance to go back. And my whole purpose was to see how I use sports, and in particular chess, to see how I can be able to impact lives of the children who were struggling and going through the same circumstances I did go through as a child. I didn't have an idea that it will ever impact as many lives and be where it is right now, because I started with one chessboard that I had right from college. And
Wow.
I set it before the children. They didn't know what it was. They had never heard of chess, and it was a new concept and a new game in the entire community. But over the years, actually after 5 years, we were able to get some of these children connect to the international level. And actually, it was after 2 years when our kids from the slums went for the African competitions and emerged champions. And I think that was the game changer. So many other people got interested to know what exactly was going on in the slums. So that actually inspired many other journalists to come on board, ESPN writing articles, and then Disney also getting to hear about this story and coming to verify how much of it was true. And reaching on ground, they were overwhelmed and they decided to do a movie, a Queen of Katwe movie, just to share the impact of what we do. We using chess as a tool for community transformation and life changing positively.
Right. So absolutely amazing, Robert. And as we know, we've connected for years now, since several years before there was a movie. Just hearing the story when the first book came out, The Queen of Katwe, it so struck me that what you're doing there is using the game of chess as a vehicle, right, for teaching life through this game of chess. Like I've heard you say so many times, chess is life, right? In fact, I was talking to someone earlier today, and I recalled something you said once, which is, even if you don't know how the pieces move, you're still playing chess in life because you have to make choices every day and the position changes. And so I've loved the analogies you've used. Now, right before we dive into further and some very exciting things I want to talk about, such as your impact on youth and the school project that we'll get to, before we do, just another little tidbit. I know from our conversations how chess came after you were more involved in football, or soccer as we call it in the Western world. So obviously you've enjoyed sports and other activities like this, and you use soccer, as football over there, as a vehicle for helping youth. What was it that you saw unique in chess, as opposed to just using sports, that made it a vehicle for impact that you felt good to add?
Yeah, thank you very much, Elliott. Actually, there were so many things that I think makes chess outstanding compared to possibly other sports. Number one, I would say I'm a soccer player, and I've been playing soccer all my life. I still do play now, besides the injuries sometimes I sustain. But chess provides a better platform in terms of, number one, the area where we work from, being a slum area with so many people and a very congested area, no space for soccer, just becomes a viable tool for that purpose. Then two, I also, having gotten an opportunity to study all the way through college, why I decided to use chess was mainly to affect the mindset of the children, to allow them develop that self-belief that we are problem solvers, that we can make it. And because I know chess is also an academic tool in so many ways. You can't teach people how to think, but if you put a board before them, you get them to the concepts, thinking just becomes to be part of their daily routine. So all these kind of attributes and concepts chess offers were very, very pertinent to what I wanted to realize and how I wanted to affect the mindset of these learners, because I strongly believe total transformation begins with mindset change. So this was my main focus, that how do I allow them to imagine, allow them to dream, and start to see possibilities even amidst the adversities they are going through.
Wow.
Because that's what made the change to me as well.
That is amazing. So what I'm hearing you say so quickly is that while chess is a game that, is strategic and problem solving, what I'm hearing you say is that children enjoy the game and don't even realize the skills that they are developing while they're playing the game. And that in the process, it's not just problem solving, it's the mindset, right? What we like to say at Chess4Life, you can win, draw, or learn, right? There is no losing if the mindset is right, the attitude, right? So that is powerful. And thank you, Robert, for sharing that.
You're welcome.
You made such an impact there. Why don't we take a moment now and talk about where you're headed next, in terms of the dream that you shared some years ago, because your studies was in the field of engineering, and you used that capability to put together a dream of yours. Do you mind sharing what that dream is for our audience?
Yeah, thank you very much, Elliott. I strongly believe if it was not, everything resonates with me. I'll say that if it was not for an opportunity I got for education, perhaps I wouldn't be able to break out of the vicious cycle of the slum life. And
Mm,
through sports, I got these opportunities from people I never even knew. Others I had no connection directly with them, but they came to my rescue and provided a chest to lean against. And over the years, we've been working through sports ministry. I have seen that education is such a fundamental tool for life transformation because you do not only impact the life of that particular individual, but you change all the lives to come after them. And
hmm.
that has changed the way I look at this and the approach that even when we use chess, I think our most outstanding transformational approach has been education. That
Hmm.
right now we are celebrating over 29 degrees from different fields of
Wow.
training. And these lives have
Now
been transformed totally.
let me interrupt there a sec. 29 degrees. Can you clarify? So 29 individuals who've earned degrees. Where did
Yes.
those individuals come from and what kind of degrees did they get?
All these kids, by then I can refer to them kids because they are now young adults, but because they are graduates. But these are all coming from the slums, which we could regard as the underserved or disadvantaged communities, where most of the people live below the poverty line, that they cannot even access school. But through our ministry program, through the Som Chess Academy programs, they were able to get opportunities, some of them through direct sponsorship, others it was like bursaries and scholarships because of their chess performance. And then they have been able to pursue academics for over like 16 years. And someone starts from zero. Before I was even interpreting for them. If you could check some of the clips when I used to do some interviews with Fiona and Benjamin and the rest of the other children, I had to interpret, to translate. They hardly even know what they could speak in English.
Wow.
And as I speak now, 15 years down the road, Fiona is working with Microsoft as a business strategist. How do you get there if it was not for education?
Right. Right.
Benjamin is right now actually just completed at Northwest University. He's enrolling for his master's degree in pre-med at Duke University in US. And how can he get there if it was not for education? The question is, how do I impact more lives? So the dream I came up with is to see how we can build a school with a target of impacting 800 lives every year. These kids
Wow.
going through our school, and we strongly believe that it can be a game changer. So we want to call the SOM vocational secondary school because we want to give them a skill for survival,
So
not just
you're sorry to interrupt. The title of the school that is the dream here, the Som Vocational
secondary school.
Secondary School.
Yeah, school.
Awesome.
Because we are looking at so much focusing even on the technology with the IT. We are now having a computer program, but basically we are teaching computer basics and just people to get to be introduced to computer as well, because we are now living in a digital world. And
Right.
I can tell you in 2017, enrolling Fiona and Benjamin in Northwest University, I was buying them the laptop for the first time. And I
Yes.
remember you were very instrumental in this transition. And it was hard because they had never even known how to switch on a computer.
Right.
So actually
Yes.
that changed my approach, and I started a computer program at the Som Chess Academy, where we are now enrolling children every year, 50 of them, because it's a small space, just to introduce them to computer basics
Wow.
as a way to move forward. And we've been able to work with some friends who have offered computers. We currently have 52 laptops that we are trying to use, but we always enroll 50 learners to be part of the program.
Right. Wow. So even before the school is built, right, the dream of this school to impact 800 youth with high quality education for these youth from this area, you've already begun training kids with whatever you have 50 kids, whatever space you have with the laptops in small buildings right now, because like you say, computer science, technology is critical for our future students. And the more they can be comfortable with it, the better opportunity for their education. Is that?
Absolutely.
And
that's very, very right. What we are actually, the whole school project will simply be more like scaling what we've already tested that it actually works.
Wow.
So we just want to scale the program and to impact more lives. And when you look at those other degrees I'm sharing, that all these learners have been, have gotten training from different fields, talk about medical, talk about accountancy, talk about IT, others are in law. So they have actually qualified in different areas. And we've been struggling to pay for them in school. So we believe if we own our own school, we can impact many more children. Yeah. And then it might be much more easier to manage the operation costs than paying for each child in the institution.
I see. So it's a matter in some cases of efficiency here, because with the youth having no means to afford school, the project has been dependent upon people of means donating, supporting. But what I'm hearing you say is the cost to help each student in school can be greatly reduced by having your own school and control of that, the school itself. So talk a bit about the sustainability of such a school. Is this a, once it's built, how does it sustain? Will it be fully dependent upon ongoing support from people around the world, or what's the model there?
Yeah, thank you very much, Neff. Number one is that we feel so fortunate that we have actually already acquired the piece of land. So wonderful. I think that is a very initial stage.
So step one, you have the land for it.
Yes, you can't build in space, but through some
not yet
generous,
anyway.
Yeah, not yet for now. But because of some generous supporters of the program, we were able to figure out, and then we got some campaign done, and we were able to get the piece of land. So what we hope to do is that to make it more of a sustainable model, we want actually to have it 60 to 40%, whereby 60% of the children will be enrolled from the programs we are doing, those who cannot afford to pay. But because we want to put it on a very good standard, we expect to have 40% of the learners coming from well-to-do families, people who can afford. And whatever they are able to pay for this service, we strongly believe we'll be able to manage and run the school on a more sustainable approach. Then that can always be boosted or subsidized by some other donations coming in for the work.
That's awesome. So basically what I'm hearing you say is the hurdle is simply getting the school funded, and then the model designed is students coming and paying for their education because of the high quality education, computer training, I assume chess education as part of it, it being so fundamental. And then those 40% really offset the costs for 60% students coming from slums who could never afford to pay. And this way you make it sustainable. That is wonderful. And I would love to talk more on that. Except that, with our time here today, let's touch base on a couple more quick things. So as you've been doing this, managing all these pieces, I know that you've been traveling quite a bit. You've pursued your own education and such. With the Queen of Katwe project, starting there in the slum and that area, how far has the reach spread in terms of the impact and the programs that you support, whether nationally, continentally, or even internationally?
Yeah, I think starting this work, and I'm so grateful that Disney got to share this in a motion picture movie, because it has resonated with so many people across the globe. And where you travel, sometimes people reach out and say, hey, Robert, come and share your philosophy. How were you able to do this? How can we do this in our own communities? And this has actually, for me, been very inspirational to see that you can come up with a concept that the world can embrace. Even the World Chess Federation, remember in 2012, they had to institute what they call the Social Commission. which wasn't there before.
Wow.
Simply because they got to read the Queen of Katwe book. They
Wow.
got to contextualize what I was doing, and they decided to create a commission, because at first you would tell someone I'm a chess player. The only focus was how strong are you? What rating
Right.
are you? What championships have you won? But chess has much more beyond winning a championship, beyond winning a trophy. It is a life-changing tool. So they got to realize, oh, what Robert is doing actually is not only making chess champions, but is creating life champions using this tool. So actually, I was appointed as a general secretary to the commission, and I served for 6 years, moving across the world, sharing this same philosophy. So I think this Queen of Katwe project has enlightened so many people on what chess has to offer. And many schools are now taking it on as an academic tool as well, because of the values and the virtues that it instills in learners. And the beauty of it all, that these concepts get into the learner's mind and character automatically. At times they don't even realize, because there are things you cannot, like the tenacity, the emotional intelligence for somebody to manage a situation,
Right.
the diversity, the option creation, the execution, generation of ideas, all these things come indirectly without you even realizing. I always say these are automatically attained virtues.
Wow. Wow. That is a really amazing, Robert, that the work done there, like you said, through the vehicle of Disney having a global audience, was able to create the awareness that then the World Chess Federation, FIDE, F-I-D-E, for those that aren't familiar with it, were able to create a special commission based upon the outcomes of chess to impact life. Wow. Did you ever imagine growing up that anything like that would ever happen?
Of course, no. I was also just wondering how to make it, struggling every day to make ends meet. It was a very challenging life, and I know whoever gets a chance to get a copy of A Night Without a Castle, which is actually on Amazon, you can access one as well. You will be able to understand the journey that I've walked, and I had no idea that it will ever be what it has turned out to be. That even up to now, I'm serving at the World Chess Commission as a counselor on the Social Commission for FIDE, which is still the same way. I'm right now traveling. I'm here in India for the Chess Olympiad with the 3 learners we came with and the national team. But still people say, oh, Robert, thank you. When are you coming to our country? We want to start such programs for our communities. And it's really inspirational for me and quite amazing to see that the world knows me even beyond what I've ever expected.
Wow, that's great. And I know you have to get back to meetings there at the World Olympiad and all, but a couple more questions, if you don't mind. Once again, a number of people may be joining us who this is their first time hearing about this and some of these concepts and these elements. And this story of what you're doing, and I'll mention it again at the end, but where could someone go if they wanted to learn more about this project that we've discussed, this educational project and building the school and the outreach? Is there a best website or best way to follow along, support, learn about the work you're doing?
Yes, thank you very much, Elliott, for that question. Yes, there are so many ways you can connect to us. Actually, I was able to find, I think it was in 2017, when I founded the Robert Katende Initiative as an entity for people who wanted to support this work, to come alongside this old vision and mission, to be able to plug in and be able to do whatever they can do to support, impact our life. And also the somchessacademy.com website is available. You can get a lot of information. Actually, of recent, I learned that I don't know how this works, but somehow I realized that I have a Wikipedia page we didn't know before. I don't know who did create it. So there is a lot you can actually be able to Google and
on Wikipedia, on Google, your website. I'll be sure and have our team post the links for how to follow along. and to follow your journey. And just for clarity, the Robert Katende initiative that you formed, is that a tax deductible donation in case people wanted to support it in terms of, let's say, in the US, 501c3?
Exactly. It is actually 501(c)(3) in the US registered, and you'll definitely be making a tax deductible donation to it.
Great.
So
just wanted to clarify that
very okay. Yeah,
in case anyone there. And now for those who this is the first time they're hearing about that Disney movie, The Queen of Katwe, can you just say a couple things about it that make this one unique? Because many people think of Disney as if children, cartoon, and if adult, different. But, can you say a couple words about this movie and even your involvement in portraying the story of The Queen of Katwe?
Yeah, thank you very much, Neff. Actually, you're very right. In most cases, people say, Disney? Really? That's fiction. Say, no, this is not fiction. Actually, this is a true story. And actually, Disney, I think it was their first time to do such a project. They had never done it. It is a family movie. Don't hesitate to allow children to watch it because it is definitely Disney. They are looking so much to the families. And the beauty of it all, that to make it more authentic, I think it also played to our advantage that Disney was adventuring in this kind of storytelling, which is a true story. Mm-hmm. And they feared to be challenged. Like, is that really true? Is that really true? So to make it more authentic to the point, they even chose to shoot it on location, which is very rare with Disney.
So where the actual story happened is where Disney shot it. So in the film, it's not like, a story which is shot in Hawaii, but it really occurred in the other part of the world. Instead, this was shot in Africa on location.
Actually, right from the slums of Katwe, that's where it was shot from. And as the cameras were rolling, following the actors, the actresses, the rest of the other people were in their normal day-to-day work. Or they would request for them, please don't look in the camera, which was not so easy because everyone wanted to know what was going on, of course. But that was, to me, a big, big blessing because I think it's very rare for a movie industry, especially like Disney. They could have created anything in Hollywood, but they chose to ship every equipment to Uganda to shoot it on location. And actually, I also got an opportunity. I had never been in the movie industry ever in my life. I had never. And I was hired as the main consultant to the story, which was very, very big for me, of course. And it was a payable assignment. Of course, daily being paid as well. But, like even where the director asks you, Robert, in this particular situation, what would you teach the children? What would you tell the children? And then the script is changed there and then depending on what exactly happened. So every scene you see, nothing is made up. They were following a true story.
Wow. And I remember one thing you told me at the time when the movie was coming out, which was even the very chess games portrayed were replicated from the actual moves played in those games. So
yeah, actually for the chess players, they would love to see that because I was hired as I was managing all the chess scenes in the movie. And to keep it as authentic as possible, we even got the exact games that Fiona played. They were the ones that were portrayed in the movie, right from the national level all the way to the Olympiad, because we do record games when we're playing. So it was more meaningful to use the real games because it was a true story.
Incredible. So with time winding down here, there's so many more things I would love to ask, and maybe we can do this again and continue to follow the story as it unfolds. What's just a couple final questions here? You have done so much already. Your mind has expanded and the opportunities have expanded, impacting so many youth. You mentioned the 29 degrees already and many more to come, God willing. What is the big accomplishment in life that you now have in front of you that you wish to see achieved? Is it the school or is it something else? What do you see as a 10-year vision that you are working on?
Yeah, thank you very much, Elliott. Actually, I think this has been, maybe before I pack up to leave this world, I would really love to see this school project running. and being able to impact 800 learners every year. And that would be a big dream, because I know it's going to be a game changer and impacting more lives. So I know it's not an easy task to pursue, because it requires a lot of resources. We need to raise over $1 million to see how we can get this school to a standard that it is required. And the land is not so big that it is very massive. So we might need to move construction towards upwards, getting storage structures, which is quite expensive with the economic status now. But I think if I can realize this, I think I can rest well.
That is wonderful, and I totally hope to see that happen. However we can help, we will continue to do so. You know, one thing before we part on that topic, how has the COVID situation and the shutdowns impacted your progress towards that goal? Because I know there was momentum, you got the land, you had some preliminary plans drawn, right? You've gotten things going, and yet even in the Western world, it was greatly impacted. I can only imagine how dramatically that may have impacted your work. Can you just speak to that for a moment? Because this has been 2 years now since that COVID scenario began.
Yeah, thank you very much, Elliott. For sure, COVID, I sometimes even kind of got to think, did it come for me? Did it come for our program? Because we had laid so much strategy in terms of what we needed to do in 2019. Actually, I wrote this book in 2019, and 2020, I had set to do a book promotion to raise support for the school project. It all never happened. Now over two years down the road, and most of the children, of course, they were all on off school, even those we support to pay directly. Our supporters also got affected. Actually, we lost almost 80% of the people who are standing with us.
Wow.
We are just trying to see how do we move forward. I had to do a GoFundMe page during lockdown to see how we can support some of the families struggling to have food. The children, Uganda, by the way, Uganda had the longest school break in the whole world, 2 complete years.
Oh, no.
And that meant that almost 60% of the children who were in school were unable to go back. The school started this year, 2022, in January. That's when we resumed. And it is chaotic to figure out. And even up to now, schools are still struggling to catch up with the curriculum, with whatever they needed to teach. But majority of the children were unable to go back. So people focused on those who were coming in kindergarten, because for 2 years they were waiting to see how they get into school. So it's been an influx in every capacity. Families are not doing well economically. So it has actually turned out to be that this particular school project is now more important than ever before.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. And I hope indeed that things progress with the right support and that the project is accomplished. So thank you. So one final question, and that is, I love to ask everybody who comes on, you know, here you are, you've come from the slum. Your story is absolutely amazing, and people can read about it in this book, right? A Night Without a Castle, as well as in the Queen of Katwe book, as well as the Disney movie, and learn more about this. You came through that, you got your degree in engineering, you chose to go back into the slum and use other outreach programs to impact youth. Then chess came along and you've used it. All these things have happened. Looking back on your life, what kind of advice would you give your younger self, let's say 20 years ago, before this all began?
Yeah, I think that is a very tricky question for sure. But I grew up almost not knowing how I would make it. I didn't know that actually I would ever make it, because each day was a day of struggle. Many times I did contemplate on taking my life because of the challenges I was facing daily. So I had lost hope, if I can say. But maybe one thing I can say to myself then is, why did I doubt? Because at times you see your potential, but you feel like it will not happen. You see left and right, nothing relates, nothing can instill hope in you. But I think I just want to encourage people, cling on hope. Hope wins.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's powerful, right? To always hope for the future and trust. Well, Robert, it's a pleasure seeing you again. Over these years,
Thank
seeing the
you.
progress, the impact, the stories of these students. Just a joy to see that in the continuing work you're doing there with now several more students competing all the way in the World Olympiad, representing their country, even as teenagers coming from the slums, all through the vehicle of chess. And as you said, I like to say here at the end too, the mindset is what matters the most. So everyone listening, remember to like and subscribe in order to listen and not miss any of the upcoming highlighted stories of chess impacting people and communities and cultures around the world. And be sure to check out the comments and the links to follow Robert Katende's amazing work. Robert, thank you again for joining me today on the Chess4Life Spotlight.
Thank you, Master Elliott. Thank you for all the great support over the years.
It's a pleasure.